Hello and welcome to the Matthew Allton Art channel again. I'm going to do a very minimal landscape today, so across the sea, some distant headlands and a very grey sky and a very grey sea as well, to be fair. It's from a photograph that a friend took when they were in Scotland last week. I'm up in the Shepherd's Hut in Cumbria, so it's a bit mad that I'm not painting a local landscape, but you know, I quite liked the idea of trying to capture this minimal scene. So I'm going to do it in gouache. You can see that I've taped up a page in my Stillman and Birn sketch pad, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use gouache paints, Arteza gouache paints, the ones I normally use. Okay, so let's see how we get on. Well, here you can see I'm using a water-filled brush, a wide one actually. It's sort of like a chisel shape. I'm sort of reactivating my dried gouache palette here. So there's a limit to how opaque you can get when you do that. It's a bit more like watercolour really. It is still opaque, as you can see. There isn't much of the beige paper showing through here. But I'm going over it again just to make sure that the beige paper disappears. By reactivating, I mean it's sort of I squeeze out the Arteza gouache paints into the palette and then just leave them there when I've finished painting, and they dry out. But you can reactivate those colours, sort of, they become like sort of watercolour pans really. And I've got a spray bottle that I sort of squirt over that dried paint in the palette, and that sort of reactivates them and makes them usable again. But the downside is that, you know, you have to sort of soak them quite well to get sort of an opaque paint. You can see that I've started by just putting sort of a browny grey, which was the colour of the sky in this photograph that I'm using. It was a very dull day, but somehow the fact that there was very little in this empty seascape looking across the Moray Firth from Nairn Harbour appealed to me somehow. It was quite a sort of minimalist picture. And far across the Moray Firth there was some thin slithers of lighter clouds where the sun was obviously trying to break through, but it was a typical sort of late autumn steely grey sky, really flat grey sky. I've actually used artistic license when I'm painting this, and I'm adding more streaks, bright streaks over to the far side of the Moray Firth here. So it was a very dull photograph, but I'm actually zinging it up a bit really and making it a bit more pleasant to look at really. You can see very well how the gouache is very different to watercolours here as I'm doing this. I've added all of those brighter white clouds in the distance using opaque white and with a touch of yellow in it, just to give some of the sunny effect, winter sun sort of effect on it. As I've added those clouds, I've borne in mind that obviously the further away they are, the smaller they are, and I think I've successfully managed that really. You can see that I've also put in a very dark blue for the very distant line of the far shore of the Moray Firth there. I'm adding some grey blues now in amongst those clouds, and it gets very murky on the far shore there, where between those two headlands that you can see on the far side of the Firth as well. You can see that you can add layer upon layer of opaque paint, so I'm just lightening the grey veil of cloud that's nearest to us here. So it's becoming a more sunny picture than the actual original photograph. But you know, that's the joy of painting. You can use something for reference, but make it your own. You can see that I'm softening some of the lines that I'm putting on with the white paint there by just using my finger to smudge it, which is another technique that you can use. Trying to add some nearer cloud differentials in that veil of cloud that's nearer to us now. Very subtle differences in grey. You can see I'm using a different waterfill paintbrush here. It's not the thick one that I used earlier. The thickest one isn't really big enough to do washes with, but it's such a small painting. It's only 12 by 17 centimetres, the actual painting itself here. I'm now beginning to add sort of a mid-blue for the sea. Deliberately cropped the sort of harbour wall off this and the beach off this, so the waves that you'll see that I add shortly are very near to breaking. They're very, very small waves, as in ripples really. Now again, using the same technique as I have for the sky, putting in variations in that blue, and making the lines smaller the further away that they are. I've deliberately left a little bit of the beige paper showing through on the left near to the shore. It sort of indicates a sandy colour because the water's very thin there, but also sort of is a bit yellowy from the reflections of the brighter clouds on the far side of the Moray Firth. I'm now adding in some of the very small waves, and they're actually refracting a bit as they come near to the shore, so they're sort of not all in a line as they often are in the sea. Adding some highlights again using the opaque white just to indicate sparkles of froth. There's not much froth because of course it's not a very rough sea at all. As I say, they're more ripples than waves. But overall, although it's not copying the light particularly that was on the photograph, I know you can't see the reference photograph, I'm quite pleased with the light effect that I've got on this painting. It's sort of, it is quite reminiscent of water and of wintry, distant, bright clouds. Adding more lines here to indicate distant waves coming into the shore further away. Adding a few more darks and a few more lights just to balance the contrast correctly. As I've said many times when painting with gouache, it's a bit difficult sometimes because darks dry lighter than you think they will be, and it seems that the highlights seem to dry a bit darker than you expect them to be as well, so the white paint dries darker. Well, this is the final painting. Overall, I'm quite pleased with it. It took about an hour and 25 minutes, I think, to do in total. I was doing up in the shepherd's hut. I was on holiday for a painting holiday, as I said at the beginning of the video, and it whiled away an hour or so of one of the mornings. listening to the sea and the wind in the trees outside. It was a really pleasant atmosphere to paint in. Right, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions about painting with gouache, then do post them as a comment in the video, and I'll try and answer those for you. If you're new here, then think about subscribing. It really helps the channel out. I hope you've enjoyed it, and do stay tuned for some new videos. I try and do as many as I can. Thanks for taking the time to sit with me and watch me do that painting, and I will see you on the next one. Okay, bye.